You know, it's, just so proud of our young men. You can't win a game or lose a game in 30 minutes or 45 minutes. You have to play 60 minutes. It's something we preach since we've been here. And really, that's all I told them at halftime. And to be very candid, felt like my heart got ripped out right before half on the fumble for points there. And felt very confident all week. That's the only time I started to waver a bit. It just felt just so anxious and sick. But we settled down at halftime and just preached to our kids, play 60 minutes. We felt like we found something right before half, and that's one thing I was wanting to try right before half. Hopefully caused us a fumble there, but ended up helping us in the second half and did some things that we wanted to do to try to get some points on the board. But, at the end of the day, it's just, we get in this job to mentor young men first, and I preach that to our staff, and I have the best staff of men that you want your kids around, and these are great life lessons. Sometimes you're on the other end of it, and it stings and it hurts, and we've had our share of those, and it sure is good to get them to experience the other side of it. I give tremendous respect to Coach Saban and Alabama. They've been the gold standard for this conference for a long time. And it's a huge win for our program, our fans. It's been a tremendous day. We have the best fans in the world. But really, the credit goes to God's goodness to us, His favor, and certainly our kids fought their guts out.
Raise your hand, we'll bring a microphone to you.
I'm assuming that you're referring to something you saw in the passing game. Can you talk about the second half that Bo had specifically, and then what it means for you to see him have this success with all the good Bo, bad Bo narrative that goes on?
I appreciate you saying that. I don't. I have respect for the job that you guys do. I know that it's not easy, but sometimes these kids take way more of the criticism than they deserve, and maybe when I don't know that they get the equal treatment on the other side of it, and I could be biased. But he managed the game extremely well for us. Nothing's going to just jump out on the stat sheet that's going to wow anyone, but that was kind of the plan that we talked about all week. We really felt like our defense was good enough to keep us in it against a very, very talented offense that stresses you in all kinds of ways. And he managed the game very nicely. In the second half, made some big-time plays, and really I thought had a couple chances for some more. I have to watch the film, but it looked like we should have called one on a little bender route that we had a really good call for what they were in. And then I thought he had Laquan on a little double move on the sideline and maybe threw it a little bit behind him. But man, just played so solid, and that throw, that last touchdown, that ball was right where it needed to be for us to score. So can't, who knows what the next week holds, but I know tonight Bo played and led his team to defeat, depends on which poll you look at, the number 1 or number 2 or number 3 team in the country, and he deserves credit for being a big part of that.
What gave you that confidence during the week, and did you feel like your team had it too?
I felt confident all year, really, ever since fall camp. I really just felt like our kids, we had, number 1, defensive depth. And I know if you play good defense, you have a chance. And our special teams have been pretty solid, with the exception of here and there. But our depth over there, losing T and Chief and Carlos hurt it some, but I see the accountability growing on our team. And if you have talent and you have kids that buy into a vision and are accountable to each other and hold them accountable to doing that, there's good enough players on every team in this conference to win games. So I've just felt at peace, except for last week. I said that publicly. I felt very anxious last week in the Memphis game. I did, but this week I've enjoyed the heck out of it. I enjoyed the prep. I enjoyed our time was stressed a little bit among other obligations that Kyle gave me, but But other than that, I was real confident, and just, I like the way our kids go about preparing for games. We don't get too emotional or too dejected. We just kind of are going about our business, and, that's what I preach to them every day in here is, man, just, the only thing that you can control is staying in the moment for today and preparing for whatever's next.
You, as big as this one is, you looking forward to going through this every week in this division?
I was talking to Coach Saban before the game, and then I said, heck, in the NFC East, you can go, 8-8 or 9-7 to make the playoffs. And in this deal, I've said it before in our press conferences here, I really believe all 7 teams in the West are top 25 teams. And I still believe that, and we'll believe it at the end of the year, but some of us are going to have several losses. So that's the bad thing about this deal is, man, we just won, I don't know if it's the biggest win in program history, or, I can't measure it next to the Archie years, because I wasn't really involved in those, but boy, we've got to put it in the trash tomorrow, because we've got to go down to a very difficult place to play at College Station and play A&M, so we won't get to enjoy it too much. And we, as you know, Mark, we got all of them right in a row. So hopefully we can stay healthy. That will be big.
You just talk about the effort of your defense. After having a good performance last week and a tougher test this week, how they kind of stood up to that challenge.
They just answered the bell time and time again. And I've told everyone all week, you won't stop this Alabama team. You just don't. They have too much talent. And the offensive line, tailback, quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, you just can't stop them. You have to be very stingy in the red zone, and you have to find a way to try to win some third downs and not give them explosive plays. And what I thought we did pretty well was not give up explosive plays. We gave up, I know, one. It could be more, but they resulted in some points for them, and we shouldn't have given that one up. We had a good call for that route that they ran, but they just, they just keep playing, and they believe. At halftime, they believe that Denzel and Cinquez said, Coach, if you just find a way to score 10 points, we're going to win. And I don't know if that would have got it done, but they're a confident group.
Coach,
And Dave and his staff do a great job of game planning.
Coach, all year the concern, the question mark's been the offensive line, but obviously against a great DL, they rose up tonight.
Yeah, 23 first downs is pretty dang good against that group, and they're so deep and so strong and physical up front, and they can sit there and play you in a too-high shell and stop your run game, and constantly are putting you in difficult places to try to find some matchups. And when we got the matchup with Laquan into the boundary, we took advantage of it as much as we could. But they just stretch it. They make it difficult to plan because they're in and out of odd and even and with the same personnel grouping. But really, at the end of the day, it's about their talent, and they're so deep that it just is very difficult to be consistent in moving the ball on.